Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome back. I hope you had a great summer, great holidays, and you started September with your batteries recharged. My name is Elena. I'm the project manager of ADA Inside REMAD events. And today I have the pleasure to moderate this webinar called Trading Biomethane Across Europe. Before starting, I'm going to give you some housekeeping rules to bear in mind. People who are connected on Zoom, you have at your disposal the chat where we encourage you to tell us where you're from, what your company is, and why you are interested in this webinar. And then you have the Q&A box for the questions. So all questions are very, very welcome, and I will try my best to address them all to our speakers. And then we have the people connected from YouTube. You only have the chat for introduction and presentations. Okay, so now let's go and meet our panelists. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. So let's start from Anthony from the European Biogas Association. Hello, Anthony.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Anthony. I'm a senior policy analyst at the European Biogas Association. As probably most of you know, ERGaR represents the whole biogas and biomethane value chain here in Brussels. I am part of the policy team advocating for better EU policies for our sector. Thank you very much for your invitation to this webinar.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Then we have Georg from Renera Trading. Hello, Georg.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for having me. My name is Georg Meier. I'm heading the trading division at Renera Energy in Switzerland, and it's a great pleasure to speak in front of this bigger audience. I will present the company and what we do in my presentation later.
Thanks, Georg. Then we have Valentin. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. I'm Valentin Calfa, and I work for the European Renewable Gas Registry, known as ERGaR, as the Communication and Policy Officer. As ERGaR, we are a European association. Basically what we do is that we facilitate the cross-border transfer of biomethane certificates. But I will expand more on that in the next minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then we have Cristiano.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello.
Good morning. My name is Cristiano Campi. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Verdalia, which is a producer of biomethane in Europe. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Two more things. The webinar is being a recording, so you will receive the presentation and the material in the next few days. And then I just want to remind you our upcoming event in biomethane, which will be held on the 20th and 21st November in Bologna, and some of our companies which are today will be also our event. Now time is up, so I'm going to give the floor to Valentin. Good luck.
Perfect. I hope you can see my screen, and thank you, Elena, for the introduction. Maybe to introduce a bit who I am, I just did that, but just to repeat myself, I'm Valentin Calfa. I work as a Communication and Policy Officer for the European Renewable Gas Registry, also known as ERGaR. And maybe if you're wondering who we were established in 2016 by a number of national registries for biomethane certificates, as the European Biogas Association and some market participants as well. Today, what we do is that we facilitate the cross-border transfers of renewable gas certificates. That includes the guarantees of origin, but also other certificates known in ERGaR as certificates of origin. And as a second, let's say, a layer of ERGaR, we provide a forum for the collaboration of renewable gas registries and market participants in Europe. We have about 44 members from 14 countries, including one from the US. Most of them are, let's say, traders, energy companies, as well as national registries or appointed issuing bodies for guarantees of origin, biogas associations, and other stakeholders such as consultancies. Here you can see a few examples of our members. These are the full members. We have two types of membership. And then we have the associated members, where usually you will see the market participants, so traders, consultants, and so on. Now I will get into let's say the topic that I'm supposed to cover today and that I will try to cover, the biomethane certificates, the cross-border transfer, and how they work and how it works, the process itself. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the different instruments used in the biomethane market, in the biomethane, let's say, transfer. There are like usually three types of certificates. So you have the guarantee of origin, you have the proof of sustainability, also known as a POS, and you have other certificates such as the ERGaR certificate of origin. For the legal basis, you can see that in the guarantee of origin, you have the article 19 from RED 2. For the POS, you have the article, I think it's article 30 in the RED 2 about the voluntary schemes. And then for the ERGaR, you don't have any EU, let's say, at the EU level, you don't have a legislation, but you have national legislation that can incorporate the other certificates. For the purpose, in the guarantees of origin, you can have consumer disclosure. For the POS, you have target accounting. And for the certificate of origin, usually it's renewable obligations, disclosure, and voluntary market. For the guarantee of origin, normally it follows the SEN standard EN 16225. For the POS, it is normally the recognized voluntary schemes that have to validate the producer or the trader. And then for the other certificates, normally they fall under national legislation and quotas and targets that they might have there. For the guarantee of origin, you have an appointed government body. For the POS, sometimes national databases. And then for the certificate of origin, it can be very different. I will explain later how it works with ERGaR. And then there are different systems such as book and claim for the GOs, for the POS mass balance, and usually for the certificate of origin, it's a book and claim similar to the GOs. About the ERGaR CEO scheme, so this started in Q1 2021, and basically it started as an initiative to allow national registries to be able to send certificates from one to another. And since then, since 2021, we have facilitated more than 3 terawatts of biomethane transfers. We have 6 members at the moment. You will see that in dark green, we have appointed national bodies, appointed GO bodies, so guarantee of origin bodies. Those are Denmark, Netherlands, and Slovakia. And then you have in light green, you have those that are not appointed bodies. For example, the UK, in Germany, you have DINA, and in Austria, AGCS. And then in blue, you will have those who are interested in joining the scheme. With some of them, we are in more advanced discussions. With some of them, we know that it will take a bit longer to join the scheme. And what they do is that these national registries, they keep track of the ownership of certificates. And also maybe one thing that should be mentioned is that RED 2, the Renewable Energy Directive 2, obliges all member states to develop registries in order to issue a guarantee of origin to a producer who requests that. And then how it works in practice for the guarantee of origin is normally the producers who makes a product declaration, or the DSO TSO provides injection data. And the production device or the production facility is audited by a registry. Then registries issue the guarantee of origin and include it in the account of the producer. And then that certificate can be traded between different market parties until it reaches the final consumer, when it is cancelled. Normally, the guarantee of origin has between a validity of 12 months and a maximum one of 18. So it has like let's say 6 months extra lifetime. I mean, it has to be cancelled after maximum. And then trading the guarantee of origin or the certificate of origin, because they're very similar. At the moment, the cross-border transfer of certificates happens via ERGaR or via the AIB, which is the Association of Issuing Bodies. ERGaR has started a few years ago. AIB has just launched its scheme. So basically, at the moment, it means that we have two different EU schemes for the biomethane certificates, which creates a bit of let's say issue in the market because you don't have one harmonized market. In AIB at the moment, you have 6 countries. I'm not sure if they already started sending certificates to each other, but those are the members that they have at the moment. So they have Spain, Italy, Austria, Czech Republic, Latvia, and Finland. And then usually you see like how the process, let's say the AIB hub or the ERGaR hub works, that by connecting the national registries. On the statistics, you see that from 2021 to today, the number of transfers has increased. Also, maybe one important thing is that the main export market is and has been Germany, so the DINA Biogas Registry. And usually the certificates grow from the UK, Netherlands, Austria to a, let's say, lesser degree. And since Denmark joined, also quite a lot of transfers from there. Now, let's say the second instrument, which is the proof of sustainability, this is how it looks, let's say, in the ISCC example. This document confirms that the production is sustainable according to the Renewable Energy Directive 2. It also allows the member states to count production as part of their renewable energy goals. And usually it has more information than a guarantee of origin or a certificate of origin. And it can also be, they can be combined sometimes depending on national legislation. And one important thing is that it has to follow the gas along the supply chain, and the mass balancing is audited for producers and traders. And also one thing is that in order to have this certificate issued, you have to be certified by one of the EU voluntary schemes, EU recognized voluntary schemes, such as ISCC-EU, the Red Cert, the 2BS, or Better Biomass. Those are the main, let's say, schemes used in the European Union. How the POS works in practice. For a biomethane installation, usually you have to get audited by a voluntary scheme. Then you produce biomethane, and then you provide the biomethane certificate, basically, POS. For a trader, usually it buys the biomethane with the POS, is being audited by a voluntary scheme, and then sells biomethane, including the POS. For an end user, so a consumer, usually they buy the biomethane with a POS. They use the POS for compliance, and then of course they consume it. And maybe as the last point in this presentation is the Union database. This is the database for biofuels. This has been launched already for the liquid parts, and now for the gaseous part, there's like a legal deadline for the 21 of November 2024 to basically have the UDB operational as well. There is a legal deadline for 21 November to be operational, and for the national registries to fully implement, it can be done until May next year. There are still many questions. We are trying to get as much information as we can to help our members. We have regular meetings to brief them and to make sure that we stay on top of it. And also maybe one thing to mention about the Union database is that it will not be a trading platform. It will just be a platform that will facilitate well, the mass balance, but also the transfer of certificates or the ownership of certificates. And one thing is that there can also be a link between a GO, the guarantee of origin, and a proof of sustainability if issued. The UDB will cover all the certificates that have a proof of sustainability, a POS, or that will have a proof of sustainability plus a guarantee of origin. If there's only a guarantee of origin, it will not be covered by the UDB, and it will be done as until now via the national databases. I think this is the last point. I know that Anthony will also deep dive a bit into the topic of the Union database and how this will work in the future. That's why I will let him provide more details on the Union database and how this will change maybe some of the ways in which biomethane transfers at the moment or in the future will work actually. I think that's it. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the Q&A, I believe, or the chat. And then, Elena, if you have any other questions, that was my short presentation. Of course, you can always reach out to us. You can visit our website, send us an email, and we will try and have a more in-depth discussion. But this is a short, let's say, snapshot of basically how it works at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Valentin. Valentin, thank you very much for the presentation. I have just one question before I want to ask you before I give the floor to Anthony. What are the main obstacles towards harmonized European market for biomethane certificate?
Yes, that's actually a good question because, as I mentioned also in the presentation, one obstacle is that not all member states have a registry for biomethane, an appointed geo-registry or a different, let's say, national database that would issue and track the biomethane certificates. So maybe I would say the one important thing that can be done is to ensure that all member states have at least a national registry. Appointed, if possible, for the guarantees of origin to respect the RED 2. And then maybe as a second point, towards a harmonized European market is, as I mentioned, we have 2 European schemes at the moment. So the ERGaR scheme, Certificate of Origin scheme, and the AIB gas scheme, the Association of Issuing Bodies. And here we are working very hard with AIB to try to find the solution in order to be able to bring all national registries into one place, into one hub, so they can all trade with each other. I would say those are the 2 main things, and maybe also in terms of legislation, making sure that the RED, also 2 and 3, they are properly implemented at national levels.
Thank you very much, Valentin. You can also see the Q&A box if there is some question that you want to answer in the chat. Okay, now I will ask Anthony to share his presentations.
All right, can you see the screen full mode? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
we hear you.
All right, I think it's working well. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. Good morning again. I am Anthony from the European Biogas Association, as I said at the beginning. Some of you are already member. EBA represents the whole biomethane value chain in Brussels. You are welcome to join the EBA to bring your expertise, your feedback from the field, from the business operation, and to benefit from our services, including policy and market intelligence. I will briefly talk in the coming minutes about biomethane, some barriers to the biomethane market. So first, yes, we have a market in Europe that is growing, but it's still emerging historically and still fragmented. In the past 4 years, biomethane production grew twofold which is quite significant. It has become now a significant renewable energy at the European level, and it has now been recognized as kind of a strategic renewable energy in European policymaking, even though there are still a lot of advocacy efforts to do with the European Commission, the Parliament, and the member states to tailor fit for purpose policies that will facilitate biomethane production and biomethane trade. But that's the historical growth that you can see on the screen, with the fastest country, including France, Italy, Denmark, UK in the past few years. Now the market is set to grow. As you know, it's a market very much regulated, driven by policy incentives, and some part of those incentives are official biomethane targets that are adopted by member states, and then they have to develop policies to deliver on those targets. In recent national plans, we totaled more than 14 BCM of biomethane aggregated in those targets in the member states. That gives you an idea of the growth compared to today's production, potential growth if the framework, policy, and market conditions are good. And the potential is even greater. This is a graph, as you can see on the screen, that for 2030, 2040, and 2050 shows what is the potential production of biomethane in Europe based on the availability of sustainable feedstock types, and considering both anaerobic digestion and thermal gasification. So the latest finding is that we would have more than 100 BCM available by 2040, which is around more than 1,200 terawatt-hour a year, and even more by 2050 if the whole sustainable potential is mobilized, tapped into. But so I won't talk here about the policies to support production, but more about the cross-border trade. This is a slide summing up the barriers that were identified with our members, and that should be addressed in the coming years if we want to create a single biomethane market in the EU. I will not go through each of them in details. I want to highlight the lack of harmonization in the documentation requirements. So you have different national support schemes, and to get those supports, this public support, you have to comply with some requirements, and the documentation that is required is different from a country to another. I will talk about the EU ETS in a moment. Valentin mentioned the difference in registries. Not all the EU countries are covered by a geo-registry today. Today, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's 14, maybe 15 operational registry. I'm talking about registries that are operational today. This is set to change, hopefully, in the coming 2 years, with countries catching up on their implementation of the Renewable Energy Directive. So just one focus on the lack of harmonization of documentation requirements, taking the example of the EU ETS. The EU ETS includes, big power generation and chemical industry, and will include soon maritime and other sectors. The European Union adopted a technical regulation that provides a possible zero rating of sustainable biomass, meaning that operators don't have to buy and surrender allowances for their GHG emissions when they consume sustainable biomass, including sustainable biomethane from the gas networks. And that's a great incentive, actually. But how to comply. What is the documentation that an EU ETS operator must show to the authority? And there, some guidance has been given by the European Commission, but we can see we are tracking this. We can see differences in the way that member states set their own requirements, especially with how they treat gas geos or other certificates from other countries. And I think I have a map here that sums it all. At the moment, from what we know, you can see in each country where in green, where the national geos are used to comply and get this 0 rating of biomethane, and where it's still not yet recognized. Also with the yellow stars, where foreign geos are accepted or not. You can see there are discrepancies across member states. We believe that's a pity, and that should be addressed to make sure it's easy for traders and EU ETS operator to get biomethane and have it as 0 emission under the EU ETS. That's one example of one of the barriers that should be addressed in the market today. Then I would like to talk about traceability and double accounting, and with the union database. So at the moment, there is no central tool to ensure there is no double counting of certificates and different biomethane batches that is put on the market, except for the geos. When there is a geo registry that's clear, and there is a robust procedure among geo registries that's very clear. But what about the other biomethane for which GeoR is not issued? And the double counting is at 2 levels. It's among market players, but it's also at member states level, how member states can trace and account the biomethane that's consumed in their country. Today, it's a real mess, and there is no accurate statistical accounting of biomethane exported and imported at member states level. So to address that, the Renewable Energy Directive mandates the European Commission to set up a union database, which is also used for biofuels, but there is a module that will be for gases, renewable gases. Here I focused on biomethane. With union database, what is it in simple terms? I sum it up like this. It's a central IT gate for all biomethane certified as sustainable. Its purpose is to ensure transparency and traceability, so mitigating the risk of fraud, but also avoid this double counting in the statistical accounting, as I just explained. The union database used the mass balancing system as a tracking principle, and for this purpose, when gas is injected in the gas grids, the whole EU interconnected gas grids is recognized as the technical term is single mass balance facility. So all biomethane certified as sustainable, whatever the end use, grid injected or not, should be registered into the UDB. So the usual POS that Valentin talked about should be uploaded or in the UDB, and the UDB will be the IT system where those POS will be transferred from an account to another account, from a trader to a trader up to the last supplier. For the benefits for member states is now obvious as as I explained it. It will be act as a central statistical source for renewable gases. And hopefully this will be part of the solution to have accurate statistics and have a clear view of what are the exports and imports of sustainable biomethane across member states. What I understand for traders or energy suppliers, that if it works well, it would be an easier process to transfer the proofs of sustainability. For the producer, to me, it's still not clear what would be the benefits. Should be clarified maybe on a technical level. To end with some recommendations, I reused these slides that I used in a previous webinar. This is a roadmap that we tried to draft with the inputs of our members and the traders. What should be done on the trade dimension to make it simpler and to move towards a real single market for biomethane. Biomethane is a commodity, and we have a European market that should be a single market for those commodities. That is not the case for biomethane at the moment, and there's a lot of work to do. Part of it is harmonizing these documentation requirements, which I talked of using the UETS as example. Also to have a single interface for exchanging those certificates. Valentin mentioned it. There are two schemes at the moment. We aim to have just one for geos. Harmonization in the certificate that should be partly addressed, we believe, through the update of the technical standard for geo and the implementation of the union database. But there is a technical the area is what do we do when both a POS and a geo is issued for the same gas volumes? This is not yet clear at the moment, and the European Commission should work on that as soon as possible next year. And in the further future, maybe we'll have to think of merging those two instruments in an harmonized way across member states to have what we call fungible certificates, of certificates that are transferable easily from a member state to another member state to comply with different support schemes and compliance programs. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thanks, Anthony. Yes, I have a question for you before giving the floor to George. What could be the next steps of the Europe to achieve the roadmap you showed?
Yeah, I think the immediate next step is to launch the union database for gases. The initial schedule was November of this year for the launch phase. The Commission has a lot of delay in the development. So that's launching the UDB for gases, providing clear timeline to the industry, because we are in a it's quite opaque in the coming let's say year or 18 months. So providing clear timeline, clear communication to the industry to better understand how the UDB will be phased in and how the market players should adapt to it. And second, I would say, as they do that, it would be great to harmonize the technical codes that are used in the proof of suitability for different biomass types. So it's very technical stuff, but basically it's imply additional work for the traders to kind of translate technical content for one member state into the relevant format for another member state. I think this should be clarified by the Commission, possibly through a delegated act.
Thank you very much, Anthony. So George, it's your turn.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Here we go. And you should be able to see my screen as well.
Correct.
Excellent. So good morning, everyone, again. Thanks a lot for laying the foundation so I can go more into details, Valentin and Anthony. I will talk about bridging the gap between buyers and producers across Europe from a trader's perspective. To give you a little bit of a background about the company, Renera was founded in 2006. In the early days of renewables between utilities, we've been consulting them in these early days where it has not been mainstream. Renewables have been a bit adventurous, even more than today, and we help them develop their renewable portfolio and their activities in this regard. Later, we've become an international player, this mainly because of our local presence in many countries for PV project development, but also for biomethane trading. Over a decade now, we have gained a lot of experience, and we're trading about the terawatt hour per year at the moment. To give you a little bit of a background of the Swiss market, on the left side, you see the Swiss targets. Switzerland is not part of the EU. Often the targets and ambitious goals of the Swiss markets are being unnoticed. Here on the left side, you see the targets in the middle for 2030, comparable to the right-hand side, the European NECP's targets, which have been showed by Anthony. Thanks for that. If you compare those targets, which is until 2013, it's 30% officially of the heating market, which is in the end about 15% of the end consumption. So it's about 5 terawatt hour compared to the European targets. It's about the same level. This demand is currently mainly covered by imports, as the Swiss potential is very limited. And thanks to the DENA graph, you should be able to see here, you see the biomethane flows between the country. And as you see easily, Switzerland on the lower right end is importing from lots of countries, foremost from the UK, from Denmark, from Netherlands, from Germany, and increasingly from France. So why is this? If you look at one second. If you look at the EU map, and if you look at the different factors that have an effect on the possibility to trading, it's a combination of different factors in the end. First and most importantly, it's the rules of a subsidy scheme. You see by different colors here. Without going into details, the subsidy scheme has a major effect on the availability of these GOs, POS, and certificates for trading. So a detailed regulation allows and facilitates, hopefully, and allows to export such volumes. Furthermore, we of course are looking into countries that have a clear process, or in other words, a registry in place. You see by these squares here indicated. So these countries, they have a process in place which allows a reliable transfer of those certificates. Last but not least, we're looking for counterparties, of course, which are interested in a long-term relationship. Usually we strive for 5+ years contracts, and that's at the moment, that's possible from around 10 or even a little bit more countries in the EU. Then coming to the process, even I know Valentin has already showed a little bit. There is still two process streams. In blue, you see the gas flow. You see the production in the country of origin. You see the injection and the metering at the injection point of the biomethane plant. Then you need to balance the physical gas and ship it to the virtual hub. Shipping means transporting and nominating to the counterparty at the virtual trading hub in the countries of origin. Then you see the green arrow, which is covering the green aspects. You use the same metering data. You then have different paths for GOs, for example. They are created in the national registry, as you heard, based on the metering data, and then they are allocated to the producer's account and can then be transferred to other accounts of the buyer or of the final consumers. Then the POS system is a bit different. It also works in countries without any registry in place. It is a POS, proof of sustainability, is created by the producer himself based on the metering data and based on the used feedstock. It has also lots of more details such as carbon intensity scores and so on. And then, of course, at the very right-hand side is the delivery, that the GEOs are being transferred to the buyer's account, to the National Registry, or the POS is sent via email. And in the future, as we have heard, there's going to be this UDB, Union Database System, which we are looking forward to also use beginning in November, as far as I understood. Then, talking about trades, usually there is a contract behind it, a biomethane purchase agreement, BPA. These are very complex contracts, and it's like a PPA, power purchase agreement for electricity. They cover not only the gas, the natural gas, but also the green attributes such as GEOs, POS, carbon emissions, and so on. They, well, as standard processes are only in place for the natural gas trading, and a harmonization of the green aspects trading is not in place yet, or is only being developed. You need some extensive know-how, and you need to distribute the risks between the producer and the off-taker. That's basically all a BPA is about, and the main aspects, first and foremost, is the price risk, of course. Beside the absolute level, you need to talk about benchmarks such as feed-in tariff, which give like the absolute level of a price. Then you can adjust the risks to producer or off-takers. A market-based price is more shifting the risk to producer. A fixed or indexed price is more shifting the risk to the off-taker. The same for volume risks. You need to talk about volume risks, who's taking these risks. Or if you fix the volumes, then it's more on the producer side. If it's as produced, then it's more on the off-taker side. So you need to balance and negotiate these aspects. Then, of course, there is the regulatory aspect. If you do cross-country trading, there is two law systems involved. You need to balance the risk if something changes in one or the other country. And then there's many other risks you need to talk about, like balancing risks of volumes which are not delivered on time, replacement mechanisms, who's buying and delivering those volumes, feedstock risks if feedstock is not available or more expensive, and so on. So it's a complex contract. You need specialists for, but this is the basis for our trading business. Now I need to watch the time and come to an end. I want to show you a use case. This is a plant in Italy. We've also released a press release. That's why I'm talking about it. To wrap up, I would present this plant and the relationship and what we've been signing in a BPA with them. First of all, a close relationship with a plant is crucial. Often you need daily exchanges in order to align nomination processes and optimize procedures. So you need a really good relationship and a close relationship to the plants. Renera is off-taking all the biomethane from this plant at the flange, so at the injection point. So we need to take care of all the processes afterwards, such as booking capacity, nominating the volumes on a daily basis to a shipper, pay balancing energy, and so on. In this regard, a big thank to our specialized partner for shipping and balancing the volumes. One of them is a leading energy operating in Italy. So they have been putting a lot of effort into making this model work. And before I hand over back to Elena, I would like to give you the opportunity to scan this QR code in order to get some more information about this plant and about this BPA collaboration. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, George, for the presentation. I know one of the person from this photo, just to let you know. And I have okay, one question for you. How do you deliver physically to your end customers?
Well, as I've shown in the process before, a physical delivery is a difficult word, because in the end it's a physical is also kind of mass balanced. So you inject the same volumes as you offtake for end customers. So it's not a real physical delivery, but it's according to the gas markets rules and processes. It's a normal gas delivery.
Okay, thanks. Well, now, Cristiano, is your turn. Can you please share the presentation?
Thank you. Okay, so I guess you can see it.
Yes.
Good morning again. My name is Cristiano Campi. When they asked me to participate to this conference, when we were distributing the roles, I was asked to talk about the biomethane market. But then I decided to put some question mark into my slide, and because I'm questioning the fact if there is a market now for biomethane, and spoiler, my answer is no, or better, not yet. There are several markets at the moment, which eventually I hope, they will converge and merge into a single market. But we are not there yet. So now that I gave you the gist of my presentation, let's go into a bit more details. First of all, who we are. Again, I'm part of Verdalia, which is a relatively new company. It was being created in 2023 by an investment done by Goldman Sachs Asset Management, which eventually they decide that they believed into the business case for biomethane in Europe. So they committed about €1 billion in order to build a portfolio of plants across Europe. At the moment, we are active in Spain and Italy. Why Spain? Why Italy? Spain, because is the promised land of biomethane, is the market which is still relatively undeveloped and where there is a lot of potential in terms of feedstock. And it's a market which most likely will provide export biomethane for the rest of Europe. Italy, because it's a market which is growing. It has a very good potential in terms of feedstock, and it's also is a very favorable feed-in tariff regime, which helps and allows for the development of plants. We have the ambition to build around 20 plants in the next 3 years. We already have 7 operational plants, and we focus exclusively on the agricultural and manure feedstock. So that's where we believe is the future of biomethane in Europe. Going on into how I would support my claim that there is no a single biomethane market yet. My background is natural gas, so I've been doing natural gas forever in several energy players in Europe. So I took the liberty to compare what is the natural gas market against the biomethane market. What are the main characteristics? Let's go one by one. I'm aware of time, so I'll at a certain point just give me the sign, I will stop. The price signal. Is there a clear price signal for the biomethane? Natural gas, yes. So very well defined in each hub. Biomethane, no. It's really a function of where the molecule is going. So, and in which, not only in which country it's going, but in which sector it's going. So the same molecule could have a different price in the same country just because it's going to a different type of consumption. Is there a spot market? Natural gas, super developed. Biomethane, no. Is there a forward market? I would say maybe for the biomethane, mostly because a lot of the biomethane is still developed on the back of project finance, so people need to have long-term agreements, and people need. One of the main concerns of the people developing biomethane is to reduce the price risk. So there are long-term price signals for the forward markets for biomethane. Is there standard documentation? No, you heard all my colleagues before. The problem is that you have different registry. You have GEOs, you have POS. There is just too much paper going around with different requirements at European level and national level in order to allow this to be called the market. Things are improving slowly, but are improving, and I have total belief that it's going to be sorted out, but it's still quite tricky paperwork process to let the molecule fly around. Is it exchange traded? Definitely not. It's not a trading on any exchange. Some of the components might be traded on some sort of exchange or platform, like some of sustainability elements, but I would say no. Is that hub traded? Yes, in the sense that a lot of the biomethane now flows through the apps. So I would call it hub traded. Is there a clear regulatory framework? No, the answer is sadly no. And again, my colleague before explained in a lot of details why the regulatory framework is at best still evolving and developing. Again, going to the right direction, but is not there yet. So with this basis, if we look at how the market can develop, what should be the point of attention for the developing of this market? First of all, the market is still a market made of a lot of small producer, because let's remember the average size of a producer, we're talking about what, 5 to 10 million cubic meter per year. So each production site, it's small compared to the wider world of the natural gas. So we are talking about having a lot of producer, which mostly develop one plant or two on a project finance basis. So they will be looking for financing, which would result in them also looking for long-term agreements in order to make the project bankable. Sustainability requirements are not always aligned. So you have requirement at EU level, at the national level. On top of that, you might have industrial voluntary schemes. So your client might have specific requirements that are on top of the national and the EU requirements, which means that, you think you might sell certain biogas to a certain client, but then some people might not like a certain type of feedstock, and other people might require certain specific type of documentation. So all these slow down the trading activity. Most of the contracting is still done on a plant to consumer. It's true, there are some portfolios developing, especially because now some of the big players are getting into the market. So they're building portfolios and they're selling for the portfolio, but there's still a lot of activity which is done on a plant to consumer. This is not ideal. It also is very inefficient because, of course, people buying biomethane, if they contract directly the plant, they will also carry some of the risk, some of the operational risk coming from the plant. The natural evolution of this market is to go toward the portfolio effect. The sustainability philosophy is still too fragmented at EU and national level, and this is impacting the creation of a clear market signal. Certain markets have a volume mandate, other markets have a GHG saving mandate. Energy intensive industrial, they follow a certain cycle, which is different than the transport sector, which is covered by the RED II. Subsidy regimes and incentive, they can vary widely at national and regional levels, and also they impact the tradability of the guarantee of origins. And also, we haven't talked about that in the seminar, but let's not forget that when you produce biomethane, you're also getting into two other businesses. Biofertilizer, because what is left after your fermentation process it's substantially compostate and fertilizer. and bio-CO2. The bio-CO2 is a market which has potentially a lot of potential, because in the way that the new energy is developing, bio-CO2 could become a stream for e-fuels. It could become part of the methanation process. So but again, it's all something that maybe it will have a big value in 5-10 years time. But meanwhile, it's there. Biofertilizer, I personally do believe a lot in that, but I'm still not sure what is the value of that, or if there is a real market for that. And that's something that, frankly, we are exploring at the moment. But let's remember that the moment you go into biomethane production, you will have to be dealing with this byproduct, which they could be. They are, in terms of value, they are smaller compared to biomethane, but they're not immaterial, so that they could be an important component of your EBITDA. And with that, I know I'm at the end of my time, so I would like to thank you and give back to Elena.
Thanks, Cristiano. You stick to the time, don't worry. Yes. Okay, we're at the end of the webinar. I have a question for you. Why do you think is the main obstacle slowing down the creation of an efficient pan-EU biomethane market?
I guess it's really the harmonization of the flowing of the GOs. It's something that something a lot of people are looking at, and where probably the integration of the main registry and let's see how the launch of the unified database will go, but that probably would give a good signal that we are sort of streamlining the process, allowing for export and import of biomethane.
Okay, thanks. Let me see if I think we have a question. Let me see, because there are a lot of questions. Let's see. One moment, sorry. There are a lot of... Okay. For example, another question for you, Cristiano, is Verdalia not looking to Portugal, since most southern markets are addressed?
Well, let's say that we are looking at other markets potentially where we start production. Of course, whenever we look into the market, we look for some critical mass, because I don't think we would go into a market just to buy one plant or just to develop one greenfield. So to be fair, I would say Portugal hasn't been in our radar screen, but my ear is open. So if there is a good portfolio to look at, I'm happy to look at it.
Thank you. And now, last question for Anthony. Do the gas injection network and the gas draw-off network need to be connected for compliance?
Well, when the biomethane you procure is injected in gas networks, and that you aim to comply with sustainability criteria, yes, because then once it's injected in the gas networks, those volumes work on a mass balance system where injection and withdrawal should be balanced. So yes, the question is short answer is yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. Well, this is the end of the webinar. Again, thank you very much for being here. I remind you again that the presentation and the recordings will be sent in the next few days. And we remind again our event in Biomethane in November. So, Anthony, do you want to tell something?
No, thank you very much for your invitation.
Okay. You're welcome. So, have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.